everyone, this is Warhawk Beyond 2040, bringing to you another edition of the Wrestling Discussion Series. And November 27th, 2009 marks 16 years ago that history was made on SmackDown when the Straight Edge Society was officially formed. And for today's special edition, I am going to be discussing the success and failures of the Straight Edge Society from November 2009 to September 2010. So, quite a few of you in the comments section have requested for a success and failures Straight Edge Society retrospective. And, I've been wanting to discuss important periods of CM Punk's career for quite some time now. And it seems like to me that the Straight Edge Society is the one that has been requested the most. So I am more than happy to fulfill that request and deliver this special edition to all of you discussing the Straight Edge Society because I feel that, obviously a lot of you have said this to me that I feel that when it comes to factions, the Straight Edge Society doesn't really get talked about that much. In fact, when conversations about wrestling's top factions, I'm not saying that the Straight Edge Society were one of the top factions of all time, but they very rarely ever come up in conversations. When you think about the top wrestling factions, obviously you've got your big ones like the Four Horsemen, the NWO, D-Generation X, Evolution, even some of the more lesser known factions like the Nation of Domination, the Ministry of Darkness, the Corporation. Legacy sometimes does come up, but not that much. It's only been recently Legacy has been addressed, thanks to Cody Rhodes coming back to WWE. But the Straight Edge Society never ever comes up. So I'm more than happy to give these guys some love because I feel that the Straight Edge Society was quite a unique faction. They were formed not necessarily to protect a world champion like Evolution or rebel against authority like DX or take out, anti-authority figures like the Corporation. You know, you, this faction, the Straight Edge Society, was quite different because a lot of it was centered around the straight edge lifestyle of CM Punk. And that concept was expanded into a faction dubbed the Straight Edge Society. So the seeds for the Straight Edge Society were planted going all the way back to CM Punk's feud against Jeff Hardy in the summer of 2009, where CM Punk preached about how he was a straight edge superstar. He didn't smoke, didn't drink, or do drugs, and he would constantly preach about his pure, clean lifestyle to anybody who was willing to listen to him. And his feud against Jeff Hardy was more or less a representation of the polar opposites of what CM Punk and Jeff Hardy stood for. CM Punk, of course, as we know, lived a very clean, disciplined lifestyle. As I mentioned, no drugs, no drink, no smoking. Jeff Hardy, on the other hand, was the complete opposite to CM Punk. So that was the main theme throughout their entire feud during those summer months. So the Straight Edge Society as a faction, as I said already, were quite different to what we have seen in the past. The Straight Edge Society were kind of like this militant, almost cult like group that would constantly denounce people who refused to live a pure straight edge lifestyle. And they would recruit followers by having them go through this unique initiation by having their heads shaved as a way of beginning a new pure lifestyle, almost like a new beginning. And with CM Punk at the helm, he evolved into this messiah like figure and constantly preaching about the straight edge lifestyle and making people do the right thing, and was quote unquote saving people from themselves. And he changed his look as well. He started growing out his hair even longer and had this long goatee beard that made him look like a Jesus Christ kind of figure. So this was clearly a very different CM Punk to what we had seen before. So the seeds for the formation of the Straight Edge Society were planted on the November 27th, 2009 edition of SmackDown, where CM Punk recruited the mentally unresponsive Festus and transformed him into the more serious, focused Luke Gallows, who explained that his friends had him hooked on prescription painkillers, which explained his behavior as Festus, and he credited CM Punk for helping him clean up his life and essentially showed him the way of living a more straight edge lifestyle. So Luke Gallows was the first disciple for the Straight Edge Society and was Punk's main enforcer. So we would see these two work together as Punk would feud with a number of different wrestlers on SmackDown, such as R Truth and Matt Hardy. So in the following weeks, we would see CM Punk and Luke Gallows go out of their way, picking up fans, planted, of course, and shaving their heads as a way of demonstrating the new beginning of their straight edge lifestyle. But when it came time to recruit someone for the straight edge society, we saw a woman named Serena come through the crowd begging CM Punk to save her, and CM Punk accepted Serena into the fold, and much to her delight, had her entire long dark brown hair completely shaved off until she was sporting a clean buzz cut, and she became a valet for the Straight Edge Society. So the Straight Edge Society was more or less formed. So we had CM Punk as the Messiah cult like leader. We had Luke Gallows as the main enforcer, and we had Serena, who was kind of the group's valet, who would accompany them to ringside. So for most of the Straight Edge Society's run, your core trio was CM Punk, Luke Gallows, and Serena. And throughout the coming weeks leading up to the Royal Rumble 2010, we would see CM Punk with the Straight Edge Society interrupt various matches and main events in an attempt to recruit members to his Straight Edge Society, and he would constantly preach about his straight edge lifestyle. And during the Royal Rumble 2010 match, he eliminated guys like Dolph Ziggler, Evan Bourne, JTG, Beth Phoenix, and Zack Ryder before he was eventually eliminated by Triple H, who he had tried to convert previously but was unsuccessful in doing so. So in February 2010, CM Punk revealed that he was mentoring a rookie from NXT, Darren Young, who was a South Beach party boy. And Darren Young became very fascinated with the Straight Edge Society and decided to join them. So we would see Darren Young more or less work with these guys, but he quickly changed his mind when he learned that he had to have his hair shaved off as part of the initiation. So that all fell through very quickly. But things started to get a lot more serious when CM Punk would begin a feud with Rey Mysterio, which would lead to Rey Mysterio eliminating CM Punk during the World Heavyweight Championship match in the Elimination Chamber. And then their feud would get more personal as we were leading up to WrestleMania 26. and Rey Mysterio would cost CM Punk a qualifying match against Shelton Benjamin to participate in the Money in the Bank ladder match. And then the Straight Edge Society would interrupt Rey Mysterio's daughter's ninth birthday party, and this culminated in a match at WrestleMania 26, where the stipulation would be if Rey Mysterio lost to CM Punk, he would be forced to join the Straight Edge Society. Rey Mysterio managed to win that match. So the Straight Edge Society as a faction were very entertaining and got a lot of nuclear heats from the fans, mostly because of CM Punk constantly preaching about the straight edge lifestyle. But their success record wasn't that strong. I mean, you've got CM Punk, one of the finest workers in the ring and one of the best talkers in the company. And you've got Luke Gallows, who was quite an agile big guy. And you've got Serena, who does actually have a strong wrestling background. But unfortunately, she never really got to work any kind of match. She was just there at ringside. And the Straight Edge Society lost more than they won. But it is what it is. A lot of that is due to the way the faction were booked. So at Extreme Rules, CM Punk faced Rey Mysterio again, but this time with a unique stipulation. If CM Punk lost the match, he would have to have his hair shaved. CM Punk was able to win that match, and then CM Punk would move on to the next pay per view, which was, of course, Over the Limit, where he faced Rey Mysterio once again, but this time with two stipulations added to the match. If Rey Mysterio lost to CM Punk, Rey Mysterio would have to join the Straight Edge Society. But if CM Punk lost to Rey Mysterio, CM Punk would have to have his head shaved. So, thanks to interference from Kane, CM Punk was defeated and ended up getting his head shaved. And as a result of CM Punk having his head shaved bald, we would see CM Punk compete in a black mask for a number of months. And then we would see CM Punk compete in a Fatal 4-Way match at the Fatal 4-Way pay-per-view for the World Heavyweight title. And CM Punk lost that match thanks to interference from Kane. And this would lead to Kane and CM Punk having a match on SmackDown. And we would see CM Punk more or less injure his arm. And we would see CM Punk come out with the Straight Edge Society in a sling. So around this time, we would start to see cracks beginning to form in the Straight Edge Society after footage was shown of Serena drinking with an unknown man on the same night that The Undertaker had been attacked and put into a vegetative state. And this would lead to possibly Serena getting kicked out of the Straight Edge Society. But CM Punk had forgiven Serena after she told him the video was to protect him from Kane and vowed never to break the straight edge code ever again. So shortly after, we would see the Big Show begin to feud with the Straight Edge Society, more specifically CM Punk, and we would see the two get into verbal altercations on the following week on SmackDown, and this would lead to the Big Show chasing CM Punk up a ladder and ripping off his mask and revealing his bald head to the public. And then the following week on SmackDown, we would see the Big Show wrestle against a mystery man who was wearing a mask who lost to the Big Show, and we would see the mystery man was revealed to be none other than former Eminem member Jerry Mercury, who had now officially joined the Straight Edge Society. So for most of the Straight Edge Society's run, it was primarily a trio: CM Punk, Luke Gallows, and Serena. So now they were four with the addition of Jerry Mercury. So cracks were beginning to form even more as the following week on SmackDown, CM Punk berated everyone in the group, stating that they are nothing without him. And of course, this changed after Luke Gallows lost to the Big Show later in the show by disqualification after everyone from the Straight Edge Society got involved and attacked the Big Show and crushed his hand with the steel steps. CM Punk, by this point, his arm had fully healed, and Big Show then challenged all three members of the Straight Edge Society in a 3-on-1 handicap match at SummerSlam, which Big Show won, of course. And the following week, we would see Serena and Gallows team up in a tag team match against Big Show and Kelly Kelly. And from my understanding, I think this is probably the only time that I can recall that Serena had actually competed in a WWE ring. And the stipulation was if Serena and Gallows lost, they would be kicked out of the Straight Edge Society. Luckily for them, they won. So we would see the Big Show defeat Luke Gallows, and then we would also see more signs of discontinuity in the Straight Edge Society. And around this time, we would learn that Serena was released from WWE, which would end her run as a member of the Straight Edge Society. And Jerry Mercury would end up getting injured, and he would become more of a backstage producer for WWE, leaving just Luke Gallows and CM Punk. And after losing a handicap match to the Big Show the following week on SmackDown, CM Punk would deliver a GTS to Luke Gallows and leave him laying in the ring. And then the following week on SmackDown, Luke Gallows confronted Punk by saying that after he defeats him, he's going to be celebrating by having a beer. But CM Punk would go on to defeat Luke Gallows and win the match, and Luke Gallows would be later released from WWE shortly after, thus ending the Straight Edge Society for good. And then shortly after, CM Punk would move over to Raw and eventually take up the leadership of the Nexus, thus kicking out original leader Wade Barrett and renaming the group the New Nexus. So, you know, I liked the Straight Edge Society. I thought the Straight Edge Society were very entertaining. They were a great heel faction, but I just didn't like the way they were booked. They were more or less like a comedy act, which was not what they were supposed to be to start with. And they had a lot of potential, but as I said, I just wasn't a fan of the way they were booked. We could have seen more people added to the group. They could have benefited more in the spotlight with CM Punk, but unfortunately, they were just treated like a comedy act. Nothing wrong with that, but it just did more and more to diminish the credibility of the Straight Edge Society, which to me was a very cool concept. And we never really got to see the Straight Edge Society win any titles. Serena only competed in one match, which is quite surprising because she's got a very strong wrestling background. I would have liked to have seen these guys pick up the tag team titles or the US title at least, just something just to build it up. But they did have quite a long run, November to September. So that's nearly almost 10 months. It's a 10-month run as a faction. That's quite rare, especially as WWE like to break up factions after a few months. But it's not a bad run. So, in terms of the success and failures of the Straight Edge Society, as much as I love these guys, I thought they were a very entertaining faction. Sorry, guys, I'm going to have to be brutally honest. The Straight Edge Society was a complete failure. Through no fault of theirs, I thought they started off very strong, but it was the booking that hurt them. But if they had won more matches, maybe acquired some gold, maybe that could have just about saved them. But the only thing I would say that it did its job successfully, it helped elevate Punk to an even more bigger heel than he was before. So that was good. But other than that, nobody else really benefited that much. out of the Straight Edge Society. I mean, it was never supposed to be like DX or the NWO, but would have been nice maybe the other guys got more of a push, but it is what it is. I like the Straight Edge Society, but it was a failure, sorry to say. The only thing I liked was the feud against Rey Mysterio. That was quite good. And I enjoyed the segments and the promo work, with Triple H and the Straight Edge Society. That was quite good. And, Punk coming out with these guys, interrupting every match and preaching at the Royal Rumble 2010. That was fun as well. But take all of that away, they didn't really have a lot going for them. But what can you do, really? They tried out something different, but it didn't work. But at least we got some entertaining promos to look back at. So that's kind of nice, I suppose. So, anyway, that's going to be it from me. I'm going to wrap this up now. What did you guys think of the Straight Edge Society? Did you enjoy it? What was your favourite promo and segment from this run? What was your favourite feud? Was it against Rey Mysterio or was it against the Big Show? And would you say the Straight Edge Society was a success or a failure? And if you could have booked them, how would you have done it differently? You know what to do, guys. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave your thoughts and comments down below, and I will see all of you next time for another edition of the Wrestling Discussion Series. So until next time, take care, everybody, and stay safe. And once again, as always, much appreciated. Thanks for listening.